Hey, what's up, VC? It's Steve again, Harmless Rebel. I usually don't do record store day videos, but this is a pretty good record store day. I got some cool stuff, and I thought, what the heck, I would just show it. Usually I like to listen to the music and get a feel for the album before I show it in my videos, but I decided, what the hell. So let's just kind of jump in. We'll start with the 45s. I will say, I did a little different thing this year, and I'm really glad I did, and I'll do this from now on. A few years ago, maybe 4 years ago, I used to go to a local CD warehouse for Record Store Day. They've always participated in Record Store Day, but, you know, 4 or 5 years ago when I first started going there, they didn't get a huge amount of stuff. They'd get like 1 or 2 copies of everything, and you know, a lot of times I'd end up having to go to other record stores to find what I want, you know. But I would always find the cool stuff. And the CD warehouses, they always price really good. That's where I buy a lot of my CDs, a lot of my really good vinyl from, or my really good records from. They don't overprice stuff. If it's limited color, and I've talked about this, like a limited colored vinyl, they don't sell it for the colored vinyl price. They usually just sell it for whatever the going price is for the black vinyl. And most of their CDs aren't over $5. So, and even when they get new CDs, they're usually not over 10. So, I really like the place. But the last few years, I've gone to Sweet Melissa's and one other place, which are straight up record stores for the most part. Well, Sweet Melissa's is an antique store, record store. And both of those places get huge amounts of stuff. They get like 10, 12 copies of everything, and there's always crazy lines. Last year for Record Store Day, I got there 2 hours before they open, and I was like maybe number 80, 70, 80 in line. So it was, and they only let a few people in at a time, like 10 people at a time. So it was, I was not in the store until like an hour, hour and a half after they opened, and half of the stuff that I wanted was already gone. Now, the last couple years, after going to Sweet Melissa's, I would stop by CD Warehouse, and they would a lot of times have some of the stuff that I missed at Sweet Melissa's. So I decided this year to do things a little bit different, and I actually screwed up, and it definitely helped. It didn't hurt. But I got there. I thought they opened at 9. And I got there at about 8:15, 8:20, and there was nobody there. There was nobody in line. So I just chilled out in the car in the warmth, because it was pretty chilly yesterday morning. And I waited until like 8:40, and then a really nice couple showed up, and they got in line. So once I got in line, I saw a couple other cars pulling in. I decided to go ahead and get in line. So about 8:45, I was in line. I was thinking that the store opened at 9, and 9 rolled around, and nobody was there yet. And I never looked at the sign, and the sign said 10 o'clock. So I ended up getting there about 2 hours early. About 9:15, 9:20, there were about 6 or 7 of us in line, and the guy from the shop showed up and went inside and came out with a little list, and he was like, we made a decision this year. Everybody that was here an hour before we open gets to select one item for Record Store Day, and we're going to hold it behind the counter for you. So I thought that was really cool. The first thing I wanted was the Motorhead 7-inch, which was real limited. They only did 500 of them. And he said that they didn't get any in. So I went ahead and had them put the Bowie behind the counter for me. And again, all the prices were really good. This was listed as $23.99 on the website, and in fact, I bought it for $23.99. So that's the Bowie. Now, sorry it's so dark in here. The light that I usually use in front of me here is the bulb burned out right before I did this, so it's going to be a little bit dark, this video. But Bowie Now was a 78 promo-only release. It was sent to the radio stations. It's got half of it is songs from Heroes, and half of it is songs from Low, which came out right before Heroes. If you saw my video maybe 2 years ago about Heroes, Heroes is my favorite Bowie album. I absolutely love this Berlin era where you have Lodger, Heroes, and Low, that 3 album. Those were all done with Brian Eno doing some of the production and stuff, and they just all came out absolutely phenomenal. But And the original pressing, the original promos of this aren't hard to get. They're out there. They're just pricey. In good condition, you're going to pay 75, 80 bucks for it. And honestly, if I had the money and ran across a nice copy at that price, I would probably buy it. But I was really stoked when I heard that they were going to release this on an official release finally. So, and they did it on this white vinyl. So we're really happy about that. So that's the one I had him hold behind the counter for me. Unfortunately, I didn't notice it, and you can barely see it here because of the sticker. Yeah, I don't know. I doubt you can even see it. The corner kind of bent a little bit, which sucks. And I didn't actually even notice that yesterday. I just noticed it today as I was looking through this stuff. So, so anyway, I ended up being second in line, and they just let everybody in, and they've got basically stations set up. So they have like 10 boxes. You know, each box holds like 50 or 60 records, and they have those throughout the store. So everybody just rushes in. So I get to the first box, and I start finding good stuff right away. And so let's just jump into it. I'll start with the 7 inches, and we'll go from there. So the first one is a reissue of Princess of the Night and Fire in the Sky from Saxon. They only got 1 copy of this, so I was glad to get it. This is one that I really wanted. And again, this there's nothing rare about this 7-inch. You can find them. You can find copies out there for $2 or $3. But I like Saxon, so. And that one is on clear vinyl. Let's see, I'll save that one for later. Next up, from Jimi Hendrix, Manish Boy. And this is Manish Boy, and the B-side is Trash Man. It's a numbered copy. And these are both on the newest record, Both Sides of the Sky, which I do have. I haven't listened to yet. I pre-ordered a copy of the purple vinyl from Barnes & Noble. They did an exclusive purple vinyl pressing. Next up, let's see, was there one more? Yeah, and then the last one was the Led Zeppelin 7-inch, which I really wanted, and it's alternate mixes of rock and roll and Friends. Really dig the artwork of that one. And then of course you've got the actual album. And then these next 3 7 inches kind of were promos, giveaways. This first one is Derek Smalls, and this is actually kind of funny. It's not actually, there's nothing in there. It's just the jacket, and it gives you the information on the back where to go to download the tracks. But formerly of the band, formerly known as Spinal Tap. So that just cracks me up. I'll have to download those and check them out. I'm not a huge Spinal Tap fan. I like the movie, don't get me wrong, or the documentary. But and I've actually got a really nice white label promo copy of that first album. I never listened to it though. But I just thought this was a cool little gimmick where they give you the 7-inch and you open it up and there's nothing inside. But from the album Smalls Change. So, and then also got a couple flexies. This is Acid Dad. And then we got Las Rosas. And both of these, from what I read, I checked out Acid Dad, and they got a kind of a cool sound. It's kind of a... like a garage psych feel, and like I said, pretty cool. And from what I understand, these guys are pretty much the same sound. So I'll check those out. I'm sure I'll talk about those in a future video. A couple more freebies. I got a couple freebie CDs too. The whole Burbank catalog. And it's stuff from Warner Brothers from Burbank. And they did the old Burbank center label as the CD, but I don't recognize most of these bands. Kimbra, Lights, Family of the Year, Twin Shadow, Bryce Vine. I don't know any of those. There is a song from Mastodon on here and one from Linkin Park Live. So let's see. So I'll check that out. But and then I also got a Record Store Day promo. And again, the only bands on here I know were or I've heard of are Diplo and Slightly Stupid, and I don't think I've actually heard either of them. But you know, it's 20 songs from various record labels, various artists. So maybe I'll find something cool on there. And then I ended up getting a couple of these bags, but the Record Store Day bags, which is kind of cool. A Polaroid, an old Polaroid camera spitting out a record. I thought that was pretty cool. So next up, we got a 10-inch, the Sublime. This is the 10-inch of their, it's called 89 Vision, and this is their first demo, and it's never been released on vinyl. So I actually know all of these songs, and I love all of these songs. I was a huge fan of Sublime early on. I can't stand the stuff that they're doing now, and I can't stand Rome as a vocalist. But I thought Bradley was absolutely amazing, and I was a big fan of them. So that was a cool one to get. Let's see, I'll show those later. This one I missed. I knew the record store only got 2 copies, and I heard 2 people ask for it. And then one guy decided not to get it, and I grabbed it from him. But this is 61 Days in Church. The covers, it's Eric Church. He's doing this 61 Days box set, and I don't remember how many records it is, but it's like $400 and something, and I think it may be 61 records. It may be a record from every single show. I can't remember what the deal was, though, and it comes in like a metal case, kind of like what Kiss did. I like Eric Church, but I don't $500 like Eric Church. But he released this. I didn't know this was coming out, but this is 61 Days in Church. It's all cover songs that he's done live on the tour. So you've got Better Man, Live in Tacoma, Turn the Page, Dixie Chicken, 6 Days on the Road, Rusty Cage, Allentown, Midnight Rider, and American Woman featuring Glenn Hughes. So I'm really looking forward to checking that out. But these are all done from basically March to April 2017. So the first little leg of his current tour. And I'm not sure, yeah, it includes 8 songs from the 61 Days in Church box set. And I think the way that box set worked is you had to pay up front, and you got the box in the mail, and then like 3 shows or 3 records, and then every month for like the next few years you get another record. I believe that's how the deal worked. I don't remember. This is one I saw that was coming out, and I kind of knew that I wanted it right away. I loved this cassette. I had this cassette, and I played it nonstop. Being from Phoenix, Phoenix was a West Coast rap city, and that's just what we grew up listening to where I lived. I got into hard rock and heavy metal early, but my junior high and high school years, all I listened to was rap, and it's just the environment that I lived in. I'm from a mixed family. I grew up in a neighborhood that was, 60% Mexican, 35% black, and 5% white. And the Mexicans kind of did their thing, and then the blacks and the whites, we kind of stuck together. Anyway, this is the kind of stuff that I grew up listening to. But this is Too Short, Short Dogs in the House. Again, I loved this album. Actually, I loved his first 3 albums, but this was my favorite. And it's got The Ghetto, which is probably his biggest hit. It's an amazing song. If you haven't heard it, I recommend checking it out. Ain't Nothing But a Word to Me was a really good song. Short Dogs in the House was huge. The only thing that's missing from this is the original cassette had a reprise version of The Ghetto as the very last track, and this one doesn't have that reprise version. But other than that, it's the same. I think this was black vinyl too. And it comes with a poster of the artwork from the front cover, a big fold-out poster. And then, yeah, it's just on black vinyl. So, and they did a couple of these California rap classics. They also did Compton's Most Wanted, which I also grew up listening to, but it didn't really affect me the way Short Dogs in the House did. And that was just always a really good album to me. This next one I knew was going to be there, and I went back and forth on whether I wanted it. And ultimately, I ended up deciding to grab it. But this is, what do they call it? Dark Matter from Hawkwind. I have to look. I hope it's not the one that... Actually, I'm going to look real quick. What the heck? Because I know I have a show from that same period. And I don't know how limited this one was. Let me see. Okay, yeah, this isn't what I thought it was. So this is kind of an anthology. Because I do have a live album. Is this not a live album? I may be wrong about the live album aspect of it. Dark Matter, the Alternative Library, UA years 1970 to 1974. So maybe this isn't... The tracks on Dark Matter have never been released on vinyl. So, okay. Now, I have a live show, a live official bootleg from that period that I'll show in another video that's really good. So, these are all unreleased tracks from 70 to 74. So, very cool. But it's really nice Aztec style artwork there. And actually, I haven't even opened it up to look at the artwork yet. So, let me see. Oh, that's kind of lame. So there you go. And then that's on black vinyl. Oh, that's kind of cool. So there you go. That's the Hawkwind. So yeah, if it's unreleased tracks, then I am actually glad. I've been listening to a lot of Hawkwind lately. Just spinning my Hawkwind albums quite a bit. Next up, this is one that I almost passed right by. I technically did pass by it. It just says the Continental Club on the front, and the back says nothing. So this is the front, and this is the back. And there is a band called the Continental, so that's what I thought this was. And I was actually, the guy next to me was flipping through the box, and he's like, "Oh, what's that?" And I was like, "I think it's a Continental." But it's not. I looked at the side real quick and I was like, oh, that's Steve Earle and the Dukes live at the Continental Club in Austin, Texas. So I went ahead and grabbed it real quick. So I'm looking forward to checking this one out. This is again, and I mean, it's basically all of his hits live. His live shows, I'm really digging. I've got 3 of his live albums now and really love them all. And actually, I believe August is when he's going to be here in Atlanta. He was going to be here. He's here next month in Athens, and I was going to drive up to Athens. And right before, or the day before I planned on buying the tickets, they announced that he would be coming to Atlanta in August. So I'm just going to wait and see him here. He's playing right up the road from me, so I'm looking forward to that. But there you go, Steve Earle. Oh, wait, okay, I already showed those. I've got only one more record store day release, but I have 3 more to show. So I left the record store at that point, and then I'm not sure what made me stop. Oh, so here's what happened. I was flipping through the records, and one of the records that I really wanted was Piper at the Gates of Dawn from Pink Floyd, the mono pressing that they released. I don't know how limited it was, but from what I understand, it sold out really quick. And I flipped right past it. It's something that was on my list that I really wanted, but it had an alternative cover, and I didn't know that. And I remember seeing the cover and flipping right past it. And so I had taken my daughter. I don't remember where I took her. Oh, we went to lunch, I think. We went to a little brick oven pizza place that we really liked for lunch. And I was flipping through my phone, and somebody showed that they got the Piper of the Gates of Dawn. And they showed the album cover. I was like, oh, son of a bitch. I passed right by that. So I drove back to the store, which is something I pretty much never do. And it was pretty much empty at that point. We're talking maybe this is maybe 1:30 in the afternoon. And I had left there by 9:15, or I'm sorry, 10:15. I had already got all my stuff and was on my way home. So about 1:30, we get back to the record store, and I flipped through, and he's like, yeah, actually that sat there for a while. They only got 1 copy. And he said it was about 10, 11, or it was about 11, 12 o'clock before anybody grabbed that one, which kind of surprised me. But anyway, he's like, oh, by the way, you asked us for that Motorhead. He said we did get a copy, so we put it aside for you, which I thought was awesome. You know, I thanked them like a dozen times. So they did end up getting the Motorhead. And a lot of people don't like this song. I really like it. This is the Motorhead doing Heroes. Again, my all-time favorite David Bowie album. I love the song Heroes. I don't want to say it's my favorite song on the album, but it's up there. And I like a lot of the deeper stuff on the B-side, the instrumental stuff. But and I didn't realize until today when I was checking, because I saw this thing's already going for like $35-40. I was like, it's a 7-inch. What's it going for so much for? I didn't realize that they only did 500 pressings of this. It was just something on my list that I wanted to check, that I wanted to get. But the A-side is Heroes, and the B-side is Heroes Live from Wacken. So look forward to checking this one out. And it's a cool little... I'm not a fan of picture discs, but it's Motorhead. And I'm pretty much a fan of anything Motorhead. I've been playing Motorhead like crazy the last couple years. So that was it for Record Store Day. That's everything I got. Record Store Day exclusives anyway. When I went back there to check for the Bowie, and they had that, there weren't many people there, so I knew they had added some new stuff to the bins. But there were so many people in there, I didn't want to be flipping through the bins and people bumping into me and pushing into me, and just so I waited. But I did end up picking up 2 really cool albums that were both on have been on my want list for years and years and years and years. But one is the Jimi Hendrix at Monterey Pop, or I'm sorry, at the Atlanta Pop Festival. Freedom. This came out in this is actually the numbered edition, which means this was the Record Store Day release from, I believe it was 2015. Let me see if it's 2015 when this one came out, and it was $19.99. It's in mint condition, so I was really stoked to find this. Speaking of the Atlanta Pop Festival, they also released the Allman Brothers from the Atlanta Pop Festival, which is an amazing. I don't know if they did it as a double album or a triple album, but I have the 2 CD or the 3 CD set of that, and it's phenomenal. And I really wanted to buy it, but it was like $50 or $60. Same thing with the Bowie Live. There was a 3 LP Bowie Live that I really wanted to get. But it was $59, and there was a bunch of other stuff I wanted. I had set a budget for myself. I went over it by like $30, you know, which is cool, mainly because I found these 2 extra things. Prior to going back the second time, I hadn't gone over my budget. But and the next thing, if you're familiar with the Pixies, I've talked about the Pixies a bunch before. I'm a huge fan of their first 3 albums, and I think they're one of the most important bands of the 80s. They definitely do not get enough credit for how important they are, and they are really one of the bands that sparked the alternative grunge, whatever you want to call it, the movement from the early 90s, starting in 89 actually. So what this is, there was a tape that was being sold out behind the scenes and stuff called the Purple Tape, from 87, I think. And basically they took the best songs from those sessions, and it ended up being their first album. I think 8 or 9 of the tracks from those sessions became their first album, which again I love. So the Purple Tapes, it was what was it? So we got 9. I think it was 18 tracks total. Oh, it may say it here. The songs on this LP were recorded in March 1987 and were included on what has come to be known by a diehard Pixies fan as the Purple Tape. From this collection of 17 songs, 8 were chosen to comprise the Pixies' first album, Come On Pilgrim. These are the 9 remaining songs and feature the original recording of Here Comes Your Man, as well as previously unreleased track Rock of My Soul. I've wanted this. I've known about this Purple Tape forever. They're impossible to get, and they're pretty expensive. So when I saw this for $18, I had to grab it. And again, this is all the tracks that weren't part or that weren't on Come On Pilgrim. So I think it's just black vinyl on. I guess Vinyl Lovers is the label, which I've never heard of. But this was released in 2010. So I'm really cooking vinyl and Vinyl Lovers. So I'm really stoked to have this. I can't wait to spin it. Again, I've heard all the songs. I've heard the Purple Tape before. Back in the early Napster days, that was one of the first things that I downloaded when I found out about Napster in, what, 89 or whenever it was that it first came out. I'm sorry, 99. Anyway, and then last but not least, so there was a secret release that came out on Friday. And what I mean by this, I was talking to the guys from the record store, and I didn't know that it was like this. So all the record stores got a message from Third Man Records saying that we're going to release a special limited edition album on Friday, 4/20. We're not going to tell you what the artist is, but it's going to be limited edition. It's going to be colored vinyl. If you want to order them, put in your orders. So my local record store, or the CD warehouse, ordered 3 of them, and they ended up getting 2. I actually tried to buy both of them, but one had already sold. So because I knew a lot of people were looking for this. I have a bunch of friends that want a copy of this, but I ended up finding a copy for myself. I haven't opened it yet. I'm not going to yet. I haven't decided what I'm going to do. I may gift it to. I have a friend that's a huge fan of this band. I may gift it to him. I'm not sure yet. But this is the Sciences from Sleep. So this was released the day before Record Store Day, and I didn't. No, nobody knew this was coming. They didn't advertise this at all. Like I said, the record stores were basically told we have a release coming out, and you can either order it or not, you know. So, so side one, this first song is Sciences, and the second one is Marijuanauts. So they took marijuana and mixed it with astronauts. Marijuanauts theme, which I just think is hilarious. But so I'm kind of looking forward to that. If you can see that the satellite is actually a pipe, and you can see the bowl there and the weed getting smoked. And then if you follow the traces, the astronaut's visor is filled with weed smoke. So I thought it was really cool artwork. It's on, everybody's calling it slime green vinyl. I would call it cannabis green vinyl. But so looking forward to checking this out, though. So that's it for my record store day. I think I got a couple buttons and stuff too. Let's see. I got a Record Store Day 2018, but I don't know if you can see that. And then I thought oh, there it is. And then a Run the Jewels button. Who I haven't really. I know these guys are pretty popular, and I think I may have heard one song. And Killer Mike actually runs a barber shop about half an hour from here. But I've never actually never actually listened to any of their stuff. So really, that's it, guys. I hope you guys had a great Record Store Day. I hear all the complaining and the whining. I've talked about this before. Here's my take on Record Store Day. Record Store Day is not for us. Everybody complains, oh, these flippers get to the record store early. They get to the head of the line, and then they put their stuff on eBay. Like I said, Record Store Day is not for us. It's for the record stores. It's for the smaller independent stores. I know of stores that make their entire rent for the year on Record Store Day. It's about keeping the record stores open, so kind of keep that in mind. And even with the flipper stuff, so what? You know, if you know how the cycle works with Record Store Day, for the first few days after Record Store Day, those prices shoot up. If you wait about 4 or 5 days, sometimes a week, you can then get those for a lot cheaper. Now, you will see stuff that stays really high. I've got a couple Record Store Day releases that are over $100. Actually, one of the Bowie ones from a couple years ago is going for $90, $100 right now. But they were really limited runs, so unless you were first in line, you weren't likely to get it anyway, you know? So, you know, I mean, flippers are flippers, you know? I'm not going to say that I've never bought a record and flipped it. When I had actually ordered 2 of the Clear Bowie albums, his most recent albums, and after he ended up passing away, I threw one of them on eBay right away and got like $350 for it, you know. And all that money went right back into records. But you know, I don't hold anything against the flippers, you know. If they get the, if you want to beat them and get those records, get up earlier and get in line. You know, like I said, I got lucky. I found a place where I can get this stuff now without having to get up. But like some of the stores around here, like Criminal Records or Comeback Vinyl, which are both really popular for Record Store Day, and both of those stores get a huge amount of records. There were people in line yesterday or Friday by noon, 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and you know, we're there 18, 20 hours before Record Store Day open, you know. So and it's just kind of the nature of the thing. But like I said, this is really about the record stores and keeping the record stores open. I would much rather miss out on a couple limited albums, which honestly almost never happens. Again, either I find them at one of my local record stores, or I find them over the course of the next few weeks or few months. You know, I found stuff the next year sometimes for cheap, you know. So one thing I will say that was really nice about this, there was a huge selection. It was mixed. There was so much cool stuff and cool genres and stuff that I had never seen before, which I thought was very cool. A lot of the stuff that was real popular, like the Zeppelin, the Zeppelin 7-inch, they knew that was going to be one of the biggest sellers, so they pressed a shitload of them. I think there's like 12 or 13,000 of them, something like that. So a lot of the more popular stuff they printed a bunch of. It's not there's not as many super limited pressings like what was it, the Waylon from a couple years ago, where they only did 250 of Waylon Jennings, you know, and they sold out like that, you know. So cool Record Store Day. I had a lot of fun. I'm glad I found a place where it wasn't as crazy. But like I said, I got everything I wanted except for that one Bowie album. So hopefully I'll figure that one out too. But take care, guys. I hope you had a good Record Store Day. I hope you're good. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and I'll see you soon.